Hello and welcome to the Art of Artisan. Today we are going to be playing Ancient Ziggurat Vampires. In celebration of a new card that came out, Markov Baron. This card should not be an uncommon, honestly. It is so ridiculous. Convoke, Madness, it's a Lord, it has lifelink, and the way that Convoke and Madness work together, you can cast it for its Madness cost with Convoke, which means you've got crazy shenanigans where you can discard this card and tap 3 creatures and put it into play for free. So it's almost like a combat trick. You can do all sorts of weird stuff with this card because of this Convoke Madness that your opponent will never expect. Extremely good card, but it's not the only good Vampire Lord we have. We also have Stromkirk Captain, which is just a generic +1/+1 first strike. We've got Vampire Socialite, which, if an opponent's lost life this turn, gives our vampires +1/+1 counters when they enter the battlefield or when she enters the battlefield, which is kind of like a Lord effect that doesn't even matter if they kill the Lord. Like, you can't kill Vampire Socialite to stop it from putting +1/+1 counters on things. Like, it's already done. The counters are already there, which is nice. We've got Legion Lieutenant as a very classic Lord. And then Indulgent Aristocrat, which is kind of a Lord, where we can sacrifice a creature to put +1/+1 counters on each vampire we control. Now, all of these cards, especially this one, and especially this one, care about cheap creatures. We want to flood the board with vampires. We want to flood the board with vampires very fast. So we've got a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 one-drop vampires in this deck. These are sacrifice fodder for Indulgent Aristocrat, and the more creatures you have, the more powerful creatures you control get +1/+1 effect is. Like, if you have 5 creatures you control getting +1/+1 is going to be 5 extra power on your board, whereas if you only have 1 creature, it's only 1 power. So flooding the board with these cheap creatures is very important. And as well, we are going to be in this deck doing a Madness sub-theme. We've got Stromkirk Occultist as a secondary Madness target. It is a 3/2 with Trample that can also draw us cards, and you can cast it for its Madness cost of 2 mana. So it's a 2 mana 3/2 Trample, which is pretty good. But what's really nice about Madness is, like, let's say you sacrifice Insolent Neonate and discard a card to draw a card. You discard a card, which you then cast, and you draw a card. So it's kind of card advantage to do discard a card, draw a card if you have Madness creatures in your deck. We've also got Blood Tokens from Voldaren Epicure and Blood Tithe Harvester, which do the same thing. Blood Tithe Harvester is also removal. Voldaren Epicure is also a way to trigger Vampire Socialite before combat. There's so many synergies here. And Era Falconwrath is a flying creature. It's also another way to discard cards at instant speed for 0 mana, which is often very important. The flying is also very important because we are an aggro deck trying to kill our opponent quickly. And then we've just got some generically good aggro creatures. 2/1 Vampire, solid. Adanto Vanguard, solid 3/1 creature that we can keep alive through a lot of stuff. Now, you may have noticed, we have almost no interaction. We have almost no spells. Why is that? And the answer is these 12 lands. We are running a 3-color deck with 0 tap lands. Our Ancient Ziggurat comes into play untapped, Secluded Courtyard comes into play untapped, Unclaimed Territory comes into play untapped. So we have 12 cards in the deck that tap for any color of mana we want, and they never come into play tapped. It's so nice. It makes our deck very aggressive. We can play all these strong, aggressive creatures from all the different colors for vampires, while still not slowing down the teeniest bit. There are some good... I have thought about building a Rakdos version. I actually think the Rakdos version is slightly more powerful. You can also run a more mid-rangey version with this Ancient Ziggurat plan, where you've got stuff like Corpse Appraiser and Night Veil Predator, and you can have blue in the deck as well, and it gives you a bit of a solid long-term game plan. But I just want to showcase this deck list because I think it is the best one for Markov Baron. Markov Baron is just such a cool card. It is insane, and you guys are going to get to see it in the upcoming matches. So let's go get to those. Game number 1. Playing against Spartan Eagle 239. And we have a interesting opening hand. 2 mana. We can play Aristocrat into Socialite. We are on the play, which means that this Aristocrat has a good chance of triggering the damage for the Socialite. The Aristocrats can be good. There's a lot of draws that make this hand fairly good, so we'll keep it. Territory on Vampire. That was probably a mistake. I probably should have just played the Swamp here. Swamp is less conspicuous. Now our opponent knows exactly what our deck is. Okay. Alright, so we are in race mode already. So we'll start off by swinging in with Aristocrat. At the very least, we gain 1 life. Best case scenario, we trigger Vampire Socialite. Not going to happen. So now we will just drop a Blood Tithe Harvester. Blood Tithe Harvester should get in the damage to trigger the Socialite next turn. And then we'll have 4 life-linking power on the battlefield. And then the turn after that, drop Stromkirk Captain and have 6 life-linking power on the battlefield. That's another reason Indulgent Aristocrat and Markov Baron are so great in this deck, is without interaction, flyers are scary. Flyers are very scary against a deck with no interaction. So you need to play lifelink to race them. Because we can't fit interaction in the deck because we have 12 lands in our deck that don't really cast anything besides creatures. I mean, like, Unclaimed Territory can at least tap for colorless, but getting our colors of mana is really hard with this deck. We really just want to have, like, if you were playing in best of 3, you might have some cards in your sideboard. There's been talk of, like, having the 12 lands and then having all of your basic lands. You're probably going to want to run, like, 8 basic lands, have them all be 1 color. So you could go, like, black and then run stuff like Thought Distortion in the sideboard or whatever. But other than for sideboarding reasons, it's really hard to fit everything here. Okay. We will get in. But a bonk. Also really nice about Vampire Socialite is there's a good chance that it's the right play to sacrifice it to one of these Indulgent Aristocrats eventually. And it also kind of gives us value off of vampires. We don't have haste in this deck at all. So sometimes we're on a turn where we need to kill our opponent. So, like, if we really needed to, we could play Sky Marcher's Aspirant, or Aspirant, I don't know how to pronounce it, Aspirant. Sky Marcher Aspirant, sacrifice it to Indulgent Aristocrat to pump the team immediately. So it kind of makes our 1-drops into 1-shot lords. It's really a nice card in this deck. I love it. Now our opponent also has awkward decision making because they do want to kill our pseudo lord to prevent us from getting more +1/+1 counters in the future. They also want to kill our lifelinkers because those are preventing them from killing us. This deck is so redundant. Like, just every card in it is so strong. And these life-linking vampires are consistently going to be 3/3s at some point in the game. So much power here. I do think we just play out the Stromkirk Captain and gain as much life as we can immediately. We also put our opponent to very low life. Like, if they don't block with Balmor, they are now at a point where our board could kill them if they did an all-out attack. And then add the fact that we've got this Sky Marcher Aspirant sacrifice sort of trick up our sleeves. They really don't have much they can do here. Also, Convoke. I just want to talk about Markov Baron because I've been testing this deck a bit, and the Markov Baron just felt so good. You can, like, play a turn 1 creature. The turn that you play Markov Baron, every 1-drop vampire you play is free. So, like, turn 1 you play a 1-drop. Turn 2, you have 2 mana plus 1 creature. So you could cast Markov Baron. Or you could cast 2 creatures and then tap everything to cast the Markov Baron and have 4 creatures on the battlefield, one of which is a lord. And then next turn play, like, another lord, and you've got a lot of damage. Like, at least 15. So yeah, it's a very fast deck and very consistent. Like, we haven't even drawn the best card in our deck. Ooh. Do they have removal in their graveyard? They do have a static discharge. Fading Hope on the Aristocrat. They're scared of lifelink. Oh, they didn't. Oh no, Dreadhorde Arcanist gets to 2 power here, and it's not attacking this turn. They don't have haste for their Arcanist. My bad. Okay. Are they okay? Oh my gosh, how much damage can we deal here? 4, 4, 3. Yeah, we can force them to chump block here. Just play Aristocrat pre-combat, and we sacrifice it. Swing in. Okay, opponent, how do you respond? If they don't block with Arcanist, we sacrifice the Aristocrat and win. Yep. That is why I count Indulgent Aristocrat as a lord in this deck. Holy cow. Like, 15 life. I mean, we got down to 10 life was the lowest we got. The Aristocrats looked really good for the life link here. But we raced one of the best decks in Historic. We just raced them and took them down. Let's get on to game 2. Game number 2. Playing against Oppressionator. Trying to think of what that would mean. Okay, we've got Markov Baron in the opening hand. We've got mana to play cheap creatures. We've got Heir of Falkenrath, which can let us cast Markov Baron at instant speed. You don't pass up hands like this. This is a good hand. This is a very good hand. Although, frankly, this deck is fairly matchup dependent, and it's super consistent as well. It's there's very little reason to ever mulligan a hand with this deck. It's usually because of mana. Despite our great mana, like, that's the most common reason I've mulliganed. It's just like, not enough lands. Okay. So, Indulgent Aristocrat does need non-Ancient Ziggurat mana. This mana can't be used to activate its ability. So I do think that Swamp is the correct thing to play here. It's always better to have non-Ancient Ziggurat mana if you have your colors figured out. So I guess we swing in with the Aspirant. Okay, opponent doesn't appear to have anything. We'll just play the Heir of Falkenrath. Next turn, we can cast lots of things if we want. It's going to be tough to decide how to do this. Probably the play we'll make is just pour on the damage now. That changes things. That does change things. So we can Ziggurat, cast Aristocrat and Lieutenant, instant speed, flip our Heir of Falkenrath, Markov Baron comes down. Yep. So here we go. Our first free Markov Baron. First of many, hopefully. We do need to leave one creature untapped. Our opponent is Goblins, so I'm not expecting them to have instant speed interaction. So we will just... Wait, no, cancel. We will just swing in with the Heir of Falkenrath. Okay, opponent, would you like to block? Please block me. Oh my gosh, they're blocking. We discard Markov Baron, and this is the instant speed trick. This is doubly an instant speed trick. Yeah, we'll cast Markov Baron. Autopay. And we only missed out on attacking with Sky Marcher Aspirant. Like, the only thing that we lost for playing that Markov Baron, it was practically a free card. All we had to do was tap one creature that we weren't going to use. And, yep, that's nice, opponent. Anyways, our creatures are all bigger than yours. What say you to that? That's a nice 3-3 you've got there against my board of, yep, Markov Baron. Markov Baron is so busted. Getting a Lord down for practically free. Oh my gosh. Ugh. Yep. And you can see the redundancy of Lords here. Our opponent had a 3-3 first strike, and we're like, so what? We don't care. Like, this deck is so good at breaking through that. And in Artisan, you get enough of these effects stacked up, and your opponent can't even wrath your board. It's just so powerful. Anyways, on to game 3. Game number 3. Playing against Fat Fruits. Vivian. There were a couple of planeswalkers they tried to make that just did not take off at all. This is another Markov Baron hand that goes creature into Lord, into, if we draw land, creature, creature, Lord, all on turn 3. This is very much a keep. We're going to lead off with Insolent Neonate. Voldaren Epicure has some value with Vampire Socialite in the future. Unclaimed territory on Vampire. And Neonate comes down. Okay, it looks like we're playing against Elves. Elves is going to be a fast deck, and so we just have to be faster. And they're on the play. So if we beat Elves and they're on the play and we're not interacting with them, that is a huge testament to the power of this deck. That's incredible to beat Elves when they're on the play and you're not running interaction. We may actually need to use our Blood Tithe Harvester as interaction, come to think of it, though. Okay. So we have a couple options for how to play this out. We don't really want to attack this turn, do we? It's kind of disappointing, but I don't think we do. Which means I either play Blood Tithe Harvester, which is kind of lame, or I play Legion Lieutenant and set up for Socialite, well, Epicure Socialite Baron next. Oh, yeah, that's it. That is 100% it. Okay. Lieutenant comes down. Next to combat, we will not attack. End turn. Yeah, that gives us some good blockers here, but more importantly, it gives us next turn. If we draw land, we do need a land. And it cannot be a swamp or a plains. Ooh, yikes. Circle of Dreams Druid. Okay, opponent could, like, Crater Hoof us. That is the land, though. So what we get to do, put this on Vampire. Done. Now the question is, do we go for a blowout? Do we go for a blowout? No, there's no way they block anyways. Oh, there is a chance they block. There is a chance they block. All right, we're going to try and get rid of one of their elves in a very sneaky way here. Oh no, it won't work. Because I was thinking we can sacrifice the Neonate to cast Baron. But that will not work because then we wouldn't have enough creatures to tap. I was thinking attack with this, and they weren't going to block anyways. All right, we're fine. This is fine. We will just tap out a bit. Markov Baron comes in. We will tap these 3 creatures. And that's a big board. Now, was it correct to go aggro here, or should I have just played Blood Tithe Harvester as removal? I probably should have played Blood Tithe Harvester as removal, but it's hard to resist going so wide with 4/4s. Just these massive vampires. Coco, that's okay. Unless they have Crater Hoof in hand, but they don't have enough mana for Crater Hoof still. Sure. Okay, opponent's playing their lords too. It's lords versus lords here. Oh, they may have more lords than us. Shoot. Alright. Looks like our opponent wins the lord battle and we lose the game. Yeah, we can Harvester into Aspirant because we could only... Yeah, okay. Harvester. This can kill a lord unless they play one more very soon. What we really want is our first strike lord. First strike would be huge here. No attacks. We do have flying on our Sky Marcher Aspirant. That has come up a surprising number of times that this has Ascend. You get the... Alright. Well, we lose. That'll do it. Yep, your creatures get huge. 2 of those come through and we die. So yeah, that's Elves. I should have played Blood Tithe Harvester earlier. I could have killed the Circle of Dreams Druid, and then a lot of this wouldn't have happened. Yeah, that was my bad, but can't win them all. On to game number 4. Game number 4 versus Le Grande Integrite. Integrite. La grande integrite. That looks like Spanish, but Spanish never has two accents in one word, I feel like. So I'm not quite sure what's going on there. But we've got a good hand here. Oh, Elves again. I don't have my interaction. I do have my interaction. Hello, opponent. I tried. Also, hello. Okay. Blood Tithe Harvester. We need to kill anything that makes a bunch of mana. Elvish Archdruid. Oh, this is not Elves. This is not Elves at all. Soul Warden. Oh, turn 1 Elvish Mystic, turn 2 Soul Warden. We have a Timmy on our hands. I'm not sure what kind of Timmy, but it is a Timmy. I think I just Legion Lieutenant here at first. Oh my gosh, they gain life. This is going to be frustrating. They could also get some pretty big creatures to block us here, but we are going to have... Oh, it's combo. It's Heliod Combo. Okay, I know this deck. I do need to kill the Soul Warden now. I should have just played a Blood Tithe Harvester. I should have just played a Blood Tithe Harvester. I just wanted to go aggro. Okay, if they have Scurry Oak, they win the game. And this is one huge downside of Ancient Ziggurat decks. We've got 4 interactive spells in the deck. We actually drew 2 of them, so we've got a chance. But this is a combo deck. Scurry Oak, Soul Warden, Heliod, Suncrown. They can use Collected Company to find any of those that they need. But if they get what they need, they win. Oh, really? You're pumping up the Soul Warden? Okay, risk time. We're swinging in. I'm okay losing my Lord to stop them from comboing. Yep, that was the correct call for our opponent, and that was the correct call for us. What do they got? Temple of Plenty. They scry 1. Now they need to have Collected Company to hit Scurry Oak or Scurry Oak in hand right now. Borrowed Time? Sure. That is fine. Harvester. They know their win condition. They want to combo off. Okay, well, we've already got discard, so this Era of Falkenroth is not great. We will cycle it. Hopefully hit a land so we can play multiple things this turn. Nope. Okay. Opponent swings in. Whatever. Oh, now we've got another issue. Oh, our opponent is gaining too much life. So this might not kill their Soul Warden if they play 2 creatures next turn. Which means, very sadly, this is my only play for this turn. Resolve. They do pump up the Soul Warden. Okay. So I cannot play another creature this turn, because then if my opponent plays a creature, they can protect the Soul Warden from Blood Tithe Harvester. And that is a scenario we do not want to happen. All right, and they did not have Collected Company or Scurry Oak last turn, so the odds of them having it this turn are pretty low. That's effectively Scurry Oak. That wins them the game. They have an extra copy of Scurry Oak in the form of Herd Baloth. And put a +1/+1 counter on it, which gives them a 4/4 creature, which gains them a life, which lets them put a +1/+1 counter on it, which gains them a life. Yep, all right. Combo. Combo beats Ancient Ziggurat. Who knew? Wow, what a top deck. And they had the mana with the Elvish Mystic. I mean, they were all in on the combo if they're running Herd Baloth, but still it hurts. No, I didn't. I really do not like that combo deck. I really don't. I was more interactive than our opponent, I feel like. And we're an Ancient Ziggurat deck, so that's kind of funny. All right, let's go to game 3. On game 5. Game 5. Game number 5 coming in. And we're going to try and apply what we've learned against Sarah. We have learned, play Blood Tithe Harvester when you can, because you will often need it as a removal. Because our deck's weakness is more combo-y decks. Like, I'd consider Elves to be a combo deck, where they're just, like, chaining together these crazy Stormish turns. I mean, Let's see. Let's put our money where our mouths are. Oh wait, this is Yorion deck. No, Blood Tithe Harvester's not going to be good here. I was just like, we have removal. Let's keep it. We somehow have an opening hand with no lords. Okay. We cast Blood Tithe Harvester. We have our removal ready. One nice thing about this is we are close to ascending to give these Sky Marcher aspirants flying. Like, this Blood Tithe Harvester is a creature and an artifact token at the same time. Soul Guide Lantern. That tells me our opponent is probably a what's it called? What's the card called? Doom Foretold. I'm getting Doom Foretold vibes from our opponent, which we're actually fairly good against. I'm not too worried about a Doom Foretold, and that's on turn 4 that comes down, so they kill our Lord. Don't worry, I'm sure we'll top deck another one. Sure we will. We did not top deck another Lord. Sad, sad. So we will just run out our creatures. This is a deck that's likely to play a Wrath. Definitely a deck that's likely to play a Wrath. Well, let's see. How much damage are we threatening here? So we swing in with these. Get our opponent down to 7. And if our opponent's down to 7, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right. We'll put the pressure on. Get our opponent down to effectively 0 life. And Sky Marcher Aspirant does have flying. That's whack. Okay, we have an evasive creature and burn in our hand. So our opponent kind of needs to Wrath this turn. They have the Wrath. They literally have the Wrath of God. Okay. Oh, Voldaren Epicure, you're not looking quite as good anymore. That's a Legion Lieutenant, which is awkward with our mana right now. We've drawn awkwardly with our mana for sure. We draw an Ancient Ziggurat. Do we put them to the test? Is this a put them to the test moment? Do they have the second Wrath or removal immediately? Let's do it. All right, put them to the test. We've got 5 damage on board. 5 damage on board. They exile our graveyard. Oh no! Oh, they've got Soul Guide Lanterns. So they can draw a card. Especially if they have a land drop. Oath of Kaya. Okay, that's 3 damage to the Legion Lieutenant. And 3 life gained for the opponent. This is maybe just a generic Yorion deck and not a Doom Foretold. Okay, we do this before combat because there's a chance we hit a Lord, and a Lord makes our Sky Marcher Aspirant deal a lot more. We still do it before combat because there's still a chance we can find a Lord before combat. And we hit a Lord. Do we play it out this turn? No. 2 damage now is much more important. 2 damage now. We can cast Markov Baron later. Next turn. Okay. So now we're seeing the downside of Markov Baron. Yeah, Oath of Kaya. Sure. They get it back. They deal 3 damage, and they gain life. Oath of Kaya gaining life. Looking real good. It's a bad card here. We'll just play out the Baron. And the opponent's going to have more removal. Oh, they have... Oh, I misplayed. They've got Yorion. That was Yorion from hand. I was thinking that even. I was like, they can't Yorion us because they have to spend 3 mana to put it into hand. And then they Yorioned us, and I just played into it. All right, yep. Okay, we're in trouble next turn. Heir of Falkenroth. I guess we got to spread out our threats. We got to force them to play the Yorion now before they get even more value off of it. And no attacks. This will not be big enough to stop Yorion. Although if this last card in our hand was a Markov Baron, we could surprise have a 5/4 blocker, and that's the card I was expecting. Doom Foretold. All right, we can concede at this point. There is no way that we get past this. We do not have any sort of card advantage engine that can beat it. Wow, that is so crazy though. We had like it felt like a 7-1 record while testing the deck. I'm gonna do one more game. Let's do a game 6. Game number 6. Playing against Sun. A little bonus game because I feel like we didn't show. Actually, I feel like we did a really good fair showing of the deck, but I just enjoy this deck too much. We're playing another round. Okay, we finally get to see Stromkirk Occultist as well. This is a mediocre hand. Play a Lord on turn 3. Oh, I should have played a Swamp. Swamp is less suspicious. Unclaimed territory tells our opponent, we're not playing interaction. You want your opponent to not know that for as long as possible. It didn't matter. Okay. Era Falkenroth does let us cast Stromkirk Occultist. But I'm going to do this because I don't know exactly my reason. I like playing Bloodtithe Harvester earlier, and Era Falkenroth, we can play it and immediately use it to flip Stromkirk Occultist next turn. That was my thought process. I just did not know how to explain it until just now. Okay, we swing in with the crew here. You got a counterspell for my... There is no counterspell on Arena that could have done anything there besides Pact of Negation. So this is going to be like a Fading Hope sort of card. Opponent has some sort of, either that or a pump spell? Some sort of like protection spell they want to save for themselves? Divine Purge, or it was a bounce spell, they just didn't want to use it yet. Okay. Okay. So we could play Harvester out. That's a good clock. I think I want to play Falkenroth, because now I can Stromkirk Occultist as a surprise on my opponent's end step, and that seems pretty good against a control deck. This is a budget control deck. They've got the budget lands, but they do have a sweeper. They've got lots of budget lands. They do not want to be mana screwed ever. Pass. And let's see what you say to my card advantage creature. Submit 1. Yep, I'm going to Madness in my Stromkirk Occultist. Okay, good. I pressed space and I thought it automatically chose decline. What do you got, opponent? Removal? We've got a 3-power creature in play regardless, but the Stromkirk Occultist draws us more cards, which is huge. Very huge. Okay, Fateful Absence. Sure. Fragment Reality. Sure. That's an Insolent Neonate. Sure. I keep saying sure because I'm very sure. All right, we're going to hold up sacrificing the clue token. See if our opponent can actually... Like, they're playing such a weird deck. That's all 4 Tranquil Coves. They've drawn all 4 of these tap lands. Supreme Verdict. We will protect this creature. And we don't want another Indulgent Aristocrat compared to some other draws, so we will just sacrifice that. So Supreme Verdict can't be countered, but we did just kind of counter it. Oh, I should have drawn a card before I sacked Neonate. There's a chance that a different card I drew would have been more important, but it wouldn't have been. Okay. My turn. That's a Bloodtithe Harvester. Okay, how much do we go all in on trying to get our clock going? I think we just drop Aristocrat and Harvester, force our opponent to have another Wrath, and even if they do, Adonto Vanguard is going to keep going. So Bloodtithe Harvester and Indulgent Aristocrat. This is putting pressure on our opponent. We can play Stromkirk Captain next turn. We're draining their life slowly with this Adonto Vanguard. We've got a blood token in case we draw another land. Supreme Verdict, sure. We'll lose another 4 life. Goodbye, my board. I'll miss ya. But, do you have another Wrath opponent? How many Wraths you got up there? Blood Tithe Harvester. And this will give me the City's Blessing, so I'm going to play it now. Woohoo! City's Blessing. Opponent down to 11. This Adonto Vanguard, the one of in our deck, may be the difference between winning and losing against a control deck. If they tap out for Teferi, Stromkirk Captain is going to be so good. It's going to be so good. They're going to probably tuck. No, they're not going to tuck Adonto Vanguard. They know that the Stromkirk Captain is coming. Okay. Opponent, what you got? You've got something. Okay, now the question is, what do we actually swing at Teferi? Oh. Okay, we can go Harvester. Ooh, we can instant speed Markov Baron here. We can instant speed Markov Baron, and that seems really solid. So, we will attack. Alright, if we attack everything at their face, that's 8 damage. Flash in Markov Baron is they lose. Flash in Markov Baron kills them. That's a pretty good, make them have it moment. Alright, someone in my chat says do it. I'm going to do it. They have the answer. Fateful Absence, sure. Resolves. And we will now discard a card here. Except, wait! It has Madness! That was my best vampire impersonation. Hope y'all appreciated it. And we hit them for 7 here. We've got a creature that's hard to kill. We've got Voldaren Epicure, which is straight up damage. This is looking good. This is looking good for the anti-control deck. We can Stromkirk Captain to deal 3 damage with the Sky Marcher Aspirant. And then next turn do Voldaren Epicure. So they need a board wipe, but a board wipe doesn't work because we've got Adonto Vanguard. So they need a board wipe, tuck with Teferi, which leaves them with almost nothing going on. They're not going to tuck with Teferi, which means they need a lot here. They need Counterspell plus remove Markov Baron. Okay, they remove Markov Baron. We still have lethal on board, opponent. Okay, what do they got here? They do untap 2 lands. Oh no, suspicious. So I actually think if I were them, I would have used Castle Ardenvale and untapped it so that I could use it again. Indulgent Aristocrat. That's a pretty good card. That also lets me do the Voldaren Epicure stuff. Okay, and this also kind of forces our opponent to act now. So let's lead with Indulgent Aristocrat. This also lets us start using these clue tokens later. Indulgent Aristocrat is so good against control. Okay. We swing in at your face, opponent. They create a 1/1 human. Sure, sure. How would you like to block? You'll block there. I'm going to save my life by sacrificing Indulgent Aristocrat to itself. Submit 1. Next to damage. Opponent has nothing, and we get him with the Voldaren Epicure. Woo! That is a 3-3 record. I've been awful about keeping the record updated. Alright. Okay, that was cool. I love this deck. Like, you can see it has some ability to grind. We just lose to combo. Alrighty. Let's get to the deck wrap up. A 3-3 record. And I don't know. I think this deck is a lot better than that. This deck feels super strong. We got to see some explosive games with Markov Baron. We got to see us beat Control with Indulgent Aristocrat shenanigans that makes removal and stuff just really awkward for them. We got to see just some heavy beatdown wins. My losses so far with the deck that I've had like since testing it have been to Merfolk, one time where they ended up with over 6 lords on the battlefield very quickly. They got like a Mara Regeray and started doing untap shenanigans to collected company into double lord, and it was ridiculous. But I've lost to that. I lost to Elves, which is kind of a combo deck. I've lost to the Heliod Control deck, which is targeted removal. Targeted removal is usually pretty good against lords, and we did keep a really bad hand against them. We kept a really bad hand against them, so that's probably my bad. And then we lost to Heliod Combo. And every single other game with this, I've been winning badly. This deck feels so strong. You can get around so many different things. Your deck board gets big super fast. The whole like looting with these blood tokens and discarding with Era Falconwrath means you can run 21 lands, which I think is slightly more than you should in this deck, but it always works out because you can just discard them later. We've got a little bit of card advantage. We've got good stuff. It just feels strong. I love this deck. It is worth building. You could go heavier on the Madness plan if you'd like. You can trim it down to be straight Rakdos, and then you can start playing non-vampire cards, such as what's it called? Vampiric Fury, which gives your entire team +2/+0 in first strike for 2 mana. Or you can play the other one. Yikes, what is it called? But it's a 3 mana spell that's deal 2 damage to every non-vampire creature. And that would have been so good against Elves. It would have been good against the Heliod combo deck. That would be a very good card. Like that card does make this deck a lot better. And I think that's the reason that Rakdos is the best version of this. But man, I love just spamming these good 1-drops, maximizing our lords, and getting these cheap Markov Barons. This card, one of the best cards from the newest set. It's such a good uncommon. Ugh. Anyways, that's all I've got time for today. Thank you so much for coming and watching, and I guess I'll catch you next time. Keep enjoying Budget Magic.